Welcome, everyone, to another episode of In the Eye of the Hurricane, presented by Coastline Contractors. I'm your host, Chad Choate, joined as always by the head football coach of the Manatee Hurricanes, Jacquez Green. I want to thank you for joining us as we talk everything Manatee football. Let's jump into last week's game, Coach. Big victory for the Hurricanes against Gainesville-Buchholz, number 6 team in the country. We talked last week about, how much success they've had in the last couple of years, going to semifinals and things. And I think from the very beginning, looked a little bit bleak for us. And then just the momentum changed after some big plays on defense for us. And we ended up winning 34-27 going away. So, what did it look like from y'all's point of view, obviously during the game Friday, but then obviously getting to watch the film over the weekend and really evaluating our team against Gainesville-Buchholz last week?
Well, we thought, at halftime, we thought their guys were just making plays in the passing game, and our guys was not, catching the ball the same way. So defense had been playing well. They couldn't run the ball. So anytime a team can't run the ball, you got a chance to win the ball game. Defense continued to play well. We gave us a couple of big plays in the secondary. A couple of them was questionable push-offs. And then we just got the run game going. We knew we could run the ball on those guys. We saw some things, the way they defend and the way they line up, that we had a chance to make some things go in the run game and put some guys in conflict on the perimeter.
Well, let's talk a little about their offense against our defense. I think, first off, you brought up a great point. They made some catches, really two unbelievable catches. I don't know if I've seen anything like it, falling to the ground and catching the one out of bounds towards us. At least he was moving and getting there. The second one, was a little bit less of a yardage, but literally was already on the ground and the ball just fell right on his chest. Now, not to take away anything from 13 Williams for them. I mean, he was good. But I thought as we got in, and I think we ended up having like 12 to 13 hurries, maybe even more. And as we got more pressure on Johnson throughout the night, and he had to move out the pocket and scramble a little bit, their pass game wasn't as consistent.
Yeah, they was doing a lot of quick game passing, though. The quarterback was doing a very good job of getting the ball out very fast. I think the offensive coordinator was calling it from the sideline most of the time, depending on how we aligned, to make sure they had ways to free up 13. But once we got the lead, they couldn't do that anymore. They had to drop back and had to push the ball downfield. And that's when we started getting our pass rush against those guys, and we started dropping more guys in coverage, creating tougher throwing lanes, and it made them struggle during that time.
Well, and you brought up, and we talked about it in the broadcast, very questionable right there before half, a push off to get him at the 1 yard line. I mean, very blatant. And then they call a timeout after we stuff them, and the quarterback sneak, which I heard horn before I heard whistle, but that's neither here nor there. Then it comes out again, and I want to say it was Keith Parham who got pushed in the back towards the late, and that's how they scored to make it 34-27. Because otherwise it was 34-20.
Yes.
And so the one thing I thought defensively, and you said it, the run game. I mean, we completely shut their run game down. They ended up with about 45 yards total in the game. And when you make a team become one-dimensional like that, it helps us on the back end, and also allows our front guys to start teeing off and go after the quarterback.
Yeah, we can really drop back and get back into coverage, because we didn't have to worry about much of a run game, toward the third and fourth quarter. They were trying to go for a big play against us, which is smart. They hit a few big plays early in the game. So, but they also their offensive line struggled. They had a lot of holding calls trying to block our front line, and the quarterback just didn't feel comfortable, in the third or fourth quarter.
Well, I think defensively, we're able to show our versatility and the guys who we have that we can kind of almost plug and play. Caleb Madelau was hurt, didn't play. Jason Johnson-Smith Jr. comes in, don't even really skip a beat, right? Ronan Dangler goes off. I mean, unbelievable performance from him. And I think he had 15 total tackles and I don't know how many individual solos, but was all over the place. Almost had an interception, made an unbelievable athletic play, dropping in the zone. But then you move Jabari Parker from corner back to play some safety, along with Eric Cotton, along with Lewis a little bit. Keith comes over at the corner spot. It seems to me the depth is much better than we've had in previous years, no doubt.
Yeah, we have a lot of depth on defense. I thought Jason did a great job of stepping in for Caleb. His first time playing football in possibly 2 years. I think he missed all last year with a shoulder injury. But up front, Ian and Alvor, they commanded double teams the entire game.
All the time.
It was always 4 guys blocking those 2. And
typically holding.
Yeah, and Dangler did a great job of not sitting back and looking. Now, he was plugging holes, plugging gaps, making every tackle on defense. And in the secondary, we kind of moved the guys around according to what type of passing game or what type of personnel they have. Parker's probably our best player on the back end. We thought we struggled tackling at safety position against Lowndes, so try to get Parker back there, for the run game. And at the same time, when Buchholz had success throwing the football, we started putting Parker on their best receiver, and he slowed that guy up also. So Parker's our best guy back there. We try to get matchups that favor us, by putting him on different places in the field. And we can always put Jalen Bryant at cornerback also. He's a guy that
he can play a little bit.
He can play the position some too. So hopefully some of the other guys get better and better as the season go along, so we don't have to use those guys as much.
Well, we can't really say, about the game without talking about, I thought, the biggest play of the game and really changed the momentum and shifted it back to us. I think we were down, 20 to down a touchdown, or maybe we were tied at the point, and Kavion Smith makes an absolute jump on the ball. And then, we've talked about this. He was always an offensive guy growing up, and he is. That's not his only pick of the year. It's not his only pick 6 of the year. He is I think, a real big difference maker in the pass game. You've got, Ian and Alvoy that do it in the run game and do it pressuring the quarterback. But I really thought that when he had that pick 6, that changed the entire game and really allowed us come back, stop him again. We get the ball back. We go down and score again. Really big play in the game.
Because other than big plays, they could never really just drive the football on us. So we knew once we got that particular lead that it's going to be tough for those guys to drive the ball all back down the field against us. We had basically took the whole run game out by that time in the ball game, so we knew they had to throw the football, which favors us even more. But Kavion has been a guy that he listened to coach. I talked to him all week long about the back to his side. He's not in the run fit, so be slow to play the RPOs. And he did exactly that. He was slow playing the RPO. When the quarterback got ready to make the throw, he was already there for the interception. So he's a guy that's valuable to our defense because he can defend on the perimeter, and he's a guy that can tackle, out in space, which is what most football teams are trying to make defenders do nowadays, tackle in space.
Well, let's flip in real quick before we flip to the offensive side. I agree. I think that nobody really that we've played yet, even losing to Lowndes, has had time to be able to go down against our defense for 30, 50, 60, 70-yard plays or drives. It's always been the big plays, the explosive plays, and I think you eliminate those 1 or 2 maybe each game, and I don't even know how many points people score on us, But so let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Obviously. Keyshawn, just an absolute animal. 17, 18, 19 carries, somewhere in that range, 170 some odd yards, and just played lights out. And we talked about it after the game to you. I thought the offensive line had some holes for him, blocked well, but there's those, what I noticed, and tell me, what you all felt. Obviously, there was something we felt short side, weak side of the field. Something that we could expose, and we absolutely did that.
Well, Keyshawn has been running well the past few weeks. Last week he came close to breaking some of the runs. They ended up breaking the following week against Buchholz. Thing about when we run to the weak side of the field is, the guys can't move around the weak side. They have to take on blocks, and we think that favors us, for the most part, because we think we're physical at receiver. We can block guys, and it doesn't give those teams a lot of room to move around. Keyshawn has been all that we expected of him this year. We knew he would be an outstanding running back. We knew he was tough as nails. We knew he can catch the ball. We knew he could run between the tackle stuff, and we knew he had great speed. And he's playing the way that we expected him to play.
Well, obviously, when the run game works like that, you're going to get some play action. You're going to be able to do some RPO stuff. And beginning of the game, we do get a pick on. I don't know if it's an RPO necessarily, but Heidel is looking to throw to Farrakhan over the middle. Safety made a great one-handed catch. They ended up having a penalty against them that negated that play. Seemed like we did that same exact play where Farrakhan caught it and then took it to the house. And I think he is, again, another guy who's very deceptive speed-wise and ran away from guys and probably that long stride that he's got.
Yeah, it was the exact same play. Only difference was the first time they blitzed the guy off the slot, and Farrakhan didn't get his head around fast enough. And that was a learning experience from him. The look we gave him in practice, the guy was always standing there. So, and then we went back to it a little bit later in the game. We knew it was something we can exploit, and we ended up hitting it later on in the game. We knew if Farrakhan show any type of blocking, those guys were going to trigger because they're very aggressive on the back end. And we'll have a lot of space in the middle of the field for him to make the catch. And Farrakhan's fast. He's not your typical tight end. Farrakhan runs like most receivers.
Yeah.
He runs a 50 in the quarter, which is moving for a high school kid. So, and he's continuing to make big plays for us in the pass game.
A stat that I thought was nice that I think if we continue it moving forward, we'll love is 100% in the red zone, right? I mean, you hear that at every level. It doesn't matter if it's high school, college, or pros. Getting in the red zone and making sure you score in the red zone is key, and we did that this past week.
Yeah, we practice down there each week. We have 4 or 5 plays that I carry down there each week that the kids are familiar with. And the most things about football is situationals, and it's also familiarity with the kids. If they comfortable running those plays, they're accustomed to run those plays, and they know all the adjustments to those plays down there. Because we even did a good job last week against Lowndes when we scored and had to go for 2, and the kids did a great job that game also.
Well, I do think this was a win that a lot of people were buzzing about and talking about Friday on Twitter and during the weekend. And I think it's one of those victories that can hopefully put us back on the map a little bit. Say, look, Manatee is definitely a team that you don't want to face. And back-to-back road games finally get it home this week, and we'll talk a little bit about that after the break and get your reaction to see what IMG Ascenders look like. So stay right there. We'll be right back after this quick break from our sponsors. You are in the eye of the hurricane. Welcome back to In the Eye of the Hurricane. We're going to move on to this week's game coach, home. Finally back to the friendly confines of Joe Kinnan Field at Hawkins Stadium after the 2 road games, long ones. Playing the IMG White Ascenders. We've played them a couple times in the last several years now. We know what IMG does. They're an academy of sports, and that's what they do, and they're going to groom those kids, and they have the top facilities and really good athletes that come there and train. And so, as you looked, at them during film over the past weekend, the game prep for this week, what do you see in IMG that we need to be ready for?
IMG, we played them the last 2 years. I think both times in the Kickoff Classic. They're going to always have good size. Kids come there to play football, so they're usually going to be big up front on both sides of the line of scrimmage. They do a lot more schematically than most teams because they have more time to practice that type of stuff. So we have to be on it. They're going to try to run the football, but at the same time, the quarterbacks had a big season throwing the football. They hit us with a power run game a few years ago that they did a great job against us. So we have to be able to win that game on both sides of the line of scrimmage. We got to be able to shut down their run game and get after their quarterback. And at the same time, we got to be able to run the ball on offense so we get some vanilla looks on the back end defensively for them.
Well, before we start talking a little bit about them, tell me how practice has gone for the guys, right? Two away trips, long one to Lowndes. You lose, it's a physical game. We lose, don't play our best. We come back against Buchholz, have a really good emotional win, losing in the beginning, come back with some big plays, and really fought through and beat a top 10 team in the state. How's practice been? You always sometimes worry, hey, let's not get complacent. You don't want to be too high on the highs, too lows on the lows. How did practice go by, this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
I thought the Lowndes game is the reason that we won the Buchholz game. I thought the kids were used to being in the situation. They had been in a hostile environment the previous week. Last week against Buchholz was our first week that we got a full 3 days of practice in, without any interruptions with wet bulb or lightning or rain. So, and also this week we got a full week of practice in. So this is the first time, the entire season we've got a full week of practice in. It gives us a chance to get out and work on everything and not just have to do walkthroughs, because some guys need full go reps, with pads on, and some guys just can see it. So with us being able to get out and also being able to watch it in the film room, it gives each one of our guys a way to be on top of our game plans.
Looking at some of IMG's stats, you brought up the quarterback throwing for about 900 yards, about 12 or 15 touchdowns, but also throwing about 4 or 5 interceptions. They've run the ball pretty well. Just one guy is kind of their main 47 carries for 336 yards. Number 3, Miller. And wide receiver-wise, same thing. One guy's pretty much their go-to. Number 2, how do you, and you talked a little bit about this with Buchholz and Jabari sometimes going to guard some of the, maybe the best guy, etc. Is that something as we're keying, hey, again this week, stop the run, and they got a really good wide receiver just like last week with Buchholz?
Yeah, we have to watch those type of guys, man. The way football's set up now, if you get a great receiver can win a game for you nowadays. It used to be like that, or used to be a running back or a quarterback, but now if you got a guy who can get behind the secondary, he can win a game for you. So we have to make sure we have eyes on number 2 at all times. He's the main one they throw the football to. I think he has 23 catches, and the next guy probably way lower than that. So we have to have a plan for him to make sure we keep the guy not getting behind our secondary.
Well, and I think defensively, I think that's we knew coming in. We've got some really good guys, and hopefully we can get healthy, get Caleb back, things like that, and be I'm not the defense. I don't think is ever going to be somewhere that's going to be the reason why we may lose. But last year we did play, and they did do a lot of weak side. That power run game kind of beat us coming on the weak side. Something we've obviously got to be prepared for, but I think defensively, we're there and in good spots. Let's talk about their defense, our offense. Obviously, listen, we're chugging along. Run game was great last week. Andrew was great last week as well, finding guys. What do we need to do against them? Looking at their defense, I think it's their middle linebacker, 0. Yeah. Stud. 40 some odd tackles on the year. He's their sack leader. So obviously he blitzes and comes and things like that. How do you prepare? You don't want to just say, hey, this one guy, because then all of a sudden they may do something else to counter that. But it definitely seems like he's the heart of their defense.
Well, they play similar coverage and alignments that Buchholz played the previous week. So that's something that can help us in preparing. But they'll mix it up. They'll play some even front defense. They'll play some odd front defenses. We have to watch out for their pressures. They bring a lot of weak side pressure. We got to make sure we pick that up. We can't have any free runners on the quarterback. But what stops all that pressure and all the moving around is being able to run the football.
Yeah.
If you run the football, teams can't be jumping all around on defense. They have to line up and play ball. So we have to be able to run the football and negate some of those crazy looks that we'll get from their defense.
Well, I know for you it's going to be nice not getting on the bus, right? It's going to be nice being back home, and we're here for several weeks, which I know, you kind of get that fatigue of traveling and getting on the bus. So that is going to be this Friday at home, 7:30 at Joe Kinnan Field. I want to thank you guys for joining in. Tune in every week as we catch up on last week's game and look forward to this week's game. Again, 7:30 kickoff, Joe Kinnan Field at Hawkins Stadium, playing IMG White Ascenders. It will be live streamed as well on Manatee Football's YouTube. And as always, go Canes, go.